We finally got some clarification from Sony on what the direction that they are possibly heading in as far as business and strategy and everything. So we got two new CEOs. Co-CEOs are named for Sony Entertainment. Hermen Hulst and Hideaki Nishino. I don't, hopefully I didn't butcher that too bad. They're both new co-CEOs replacing Jim Ryan, who retired last year. I think he like officially stepped down earlier this year. And each of them are going to be like responsible for managing different parts of the business. This was kind of like a unique strategy that I thought was pretty interesting on their
I
part.
think is that's very smart. I
Yeah,
think that is
yeah, that's
very
what I was gonna
smart.
say too. Yeah, it's
Um,
cool to see like, not Jim, Herman Holst. If you guys aren't familiar with him, like he's been with Sony, him and Hideaki. I was looking up, just like the history
yeah,
of the
their
company
history
and
runs
stuff.
deep.
But yeah, they both have been with Sony for a while. Herman Holst was a game director over at Guerrilla Games, and I think he worked with Sony before that, in some other capacity. Hideaki worked like more on the business side and stuff, and that kind of reflects in their roles as well. So Herman is gonna kind of stay, like the head of kind of like the PlayStation studio side, development side, which I think is smart because as we've talked about before, they knock most of their first party games out of the park. 9 times out of 10, they're usually reviewed very well. They play, they're fun, and Mr. Nishino is going to be taking more. He's going to take over more of the platforms and services part of the business, kind of focusing on, I'm assuming, PC and other platforms that they may want to put their games on. But yeah, just like you said, man, I'm a fan of this move as well, and I think it's smart of them to kind of get this news out because there's been rumors that they're supposedly prepping for a showcase this month, which surprised me because it's been pretty quiet from Sony for the first half of the year. I mean, outside of like, excuse me, Final Fantasy, for Horizon Forbidden West, and a few other titles. But yeah, how you kind of feeling about this? Like, and we'll kind of get into like the nitty gritty of how I think, what I think is going to happen going forward with them. But it seems like they're heading in a brand new direction, post Jim Ryan.
Hmm. Well, I think when you have the when you have such a big job like that, right? I think it was very smart of them to because at first I was like, "Whoa, wait, two new CEOs?"
Yeah,
And then I was like, "Damn, okay, well that makes sense to kind of divvy that up because that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off of them, right?"
yeah.
Somebody knocking at my door. Hold on, man. Jesus
No, you're
Christ.
good. Oh no, you're good. You're good. I'll take over. Take over. So, so yeah, I agree with what DC was about to say, man. It seems like Sony kind of is evolving and heading in this direction. Where they want to go with the rest of this generation and beyond. It seems like they really want to hyper focus on the things that have been making them successful, which I respect. Sony's been in this
I'm
position.
sorry, guys.
Oh, you're good.
All these election people. It's that time of year, man. They doing all
Oh
this door
man,
to door and
campaigning.
hey, campaign this. Actually, you know what? I always take the information. I'm literally like just trying to be more into the local politician side of the local campaigns and stuff, see what's going on. So
Yes.
it kind of pisses me off a little bit, but I do take the information. Like I'm not going to sit up here. You're not going to talk my ear off.
Yeah.
I always just tell them like, hey, just leave the information outside the door, bro.
Exercise your
And I
right
do
to
get it.
vote.
I actually read it too. So I look, like I said, I'm not here to promote either side. Hey, everybody, just get your information, do your research.
Yep. Exercise your
But
right to
back to
vote.
what I was, yeah, back to what I was saying. So I think the idea of having two CEOs is magnificent. That kind of takes the stress off of just having one. You can have each one focus on different areas and
Yeah.
hopefully, well, I think this is going to be a good strategy. I'm not going to even say hopefully. I feel like that's a very good strategy for them to focus on different parts of the business. And Sony, for the most part, they have a track record of, things have been coming together pretty well for them for the past how long, So this looks to be like a step in the right direction. I know they were doing this because they said they do want to focus on creating more games and stuff like that, and this will give them the opportunity to do so.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because just think about how they're thinking. They're forward with their thinking. They're forward thinking, right? Because most people who quote unquote this far ahead in the game, right? They tend to get lazy, right? They start relying on their go-to games and their legacy games. But Sony is looking to kind of push the envelope. It looked like they want to create more experiences for us to enjoy or whatever. But
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's overall good, man. And we'll see in due time like what this will lead up to, because this doesn't start till they don't June. They don't.
Yeah, I believe they officially take over sometime in June, and I agree with you, man. I
Yeah.
think for all the crap that we were giving Sony last year about not necessarily trying to expand like Microsoft and buying up studios, and we've kind of seen how that's led Microsoft to make certain decisions over the last year or so. I
Hmm.
do really want to applaud Sony for kind of sticking to their guns and just continuing to refine the things that have made them successful and continue to make them successful. Honestly, since like PlayStation 1 days, you have two very strong and very smart leaders who know the business incredibly well. Like I said, man,
With extensive resumes
yeah,
too.
with very, very extensive resumes and histories with the company. I mean, yeah, PS5 sales have kind of slowed down a little bit, but not to the point where they are significantly worried about it, in my opinion. I mean, it's just kind of like a reflection of the economy as a whole. But, I think with this, we will start to see more detailed announcements, and maybe, they could work together on trying to market things a little bit better. So, I always say, man, marketing and messaging is so key and so important, in the games industry,
Hmm.
because there's so much noise all the time about news and things coming out that Sony honestly is probably starting to look more at PC. I mean, yeah,
That's what it feels like, right?
yeah. I
Like, I
mean,
think if you read some of the notes, and there's a lot out there. Like when I was researching these two guys, I noticed the verbiage.
yeah,
I kept seeing PC, PC, PC. So if I was a betting man, I would think that, and everything that's going on with like exclusivity and all that, I feel like we're going to see a friendlier side of PlayStation. What I mean by that is, I think their big titles will come out, and then I still think they're going to wait. And then after maybe like a year, you know how they do it. They'll
yeah,
wait like a year or so and then drop the game on PC as well, because I feel like the stuff that's going on with Final Fantasy and stuff, they're starting to
yes,
rethink their strategy, because Final Fantasy is like, hey man, look, we barely broke bread on Rebirth. So
and
we're
16,
thinking
16 didn't sell
about,
well for them either.
yeah, so we're thinking about possibly releasing on other systems, platforms. So I think PlayStation is like, well, we have to start entertaining this. Like we can't ignore it anymore, right? Like we have to start figuring out what's best for these companies and us in the long term. So I kept seeing PC pop up, and I do believe we'll see a friendlier side of PlayStation when it comes to that. Like we'll see more games in the future come
Yeah,
out on
and
PC. I don't know about Xbox just yet. I don't know if they're ready to go that far, but we'll see.
nah, I'll say this much, and I'm glad you brought up the Final Fantasy conversation because a lot of people have been talking about that this week too. And I think people were kind of looking at it wrong. They're like, oh well, more PlayStation games come out on X, Y, and Z platform versus Sony, but you have to understand where Square Enix is coming from. The amount of money and investment that they have in those AAA Final
Hmm.
Fantasy games is probably significantly higher than the games that may really than like a 2D sprite based or an isometric game that might release on the Switch or PC. Like the level of investment is just higher, and also the level of return needs to be there as well. And you guys don't have to believe us. You can do a quick Google and see the sales of Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth and 16, and they were from Square Enix's mouth. They did not meet expectations. They were
Listen to that from their mouth,
yeah,
because a lot of people been debating this. I'm like, but they said it.
Yeah, they said it
This is not
themselves.
me hating on the game. Like, because a lot of people, oh, you don't play RPG games. You don't. I'm like,
Look,
dude, they said it. It wasn't me.
yeah, and I mean, like, it's in my opinion, I think that, or I would love to see numbers on this, but just from my own observations, I wouldn't be surprised if PC gamers on average spend more money on games and peripherals and stuff than a console gamer. I mean, the level of investment is obviously higher because you need a PC to play the games versus
Hmm.
like a console. But it's just that is and we could talk about like I kind of talked about it. I kind of said it on Twitter last week. The we're starting to kind of really see the death of exclusives. Maybe not on the first party front, but definitely in that third party space. Your Square Enixes, your Capcoms, like those studios are really starting to look at these things and maybe a little bit more hesitant to take these platform exclusive deals, even if they do come with a sizable chunk of money or marketing. Like they want to get more return on their investment because the cost of games is going up in studios. I mean, right after Square Enix said that they were going to focus more on multi-platform, they fired a bunch of people. Like they had layoffs. And I'm not laughing at the fact that
Good
they
old
did, but
layoffs.
it's like you can't think that those two things are isolated. You know what I mean? Like, right after they announced that they want to do more multi-platform stuff, that they start to have layoffs after they said that their games didn't sell great, their AAA titles. Like
Yeah.
it all kind of correlates together, and I think Sony is starting to realize that, just like you said, they can't be as closed off to things. Like, not that's not me saying that. I think we're gonna get like day and date release of like God of War 3 on PC and PlayStation 6 or whatever. But
Oh, of course.
you
They're gonna
know,
wait.
yeah,
They're gonna
we'll
do a little
we'll I
wait
think I
thing.
think we'll get them at a quicker pace. Just like you said, maybe like 12 months after instead of like 18, 2 years after these games come out.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I think we'll start to see, I mean, because every game that's come out so far, that have been PlayStation exclusive have sold pretty well on like Steam and PC and stuff, and they're taking notice of that. And I think
And
this,
people think about it like this: people are rebuying these games on PC.
yeah,
I know a lot of people who have PlayStations. They have certain games and they'll rebuy it on PC. So essentially,
that's me
that's
pointing at
more
myself.
money.
I'm planning on
Yeah.
rebuying Ghost of Tsushima at some point this summer as well because it's the game is that good, and I want to see it at the highest fidelity, the highest frame rate, and that's the type of people that they're targeting for these games, as
Hmm.
well as a new audience of people who haven't played them before. I mean, because while there are a bunch of PlayStation 5s out in the wild, man, there are just as many people who still haven't played these games, and Sony is taking notice of that. I mean, Helldivers 2, I think, became the fastest selling game in their portfolio. I think ever or some shit I was reading like it. And Helldivers did stumble. It's been having some trouble the last couple of weeks, but that community is still incredibly strong. The game's still going strong. And Sony's like I said, they're taking notice of it, man. So I'm curious to see what their plans are going forward. Like I said, especially if we get this, the rumored showcase. We may see new hardware. There's so much, and this is once again, this is why this is my favorite time of the year, because we
Hmm.
get all these rumors and speculation about what could be. I mean, one thing while I was looking up this news that I found out that the PlayStation Portal actually has been selling. It's been outselling their supply, which I had no. I'm shocked. I'm shocked and I'm not at the same time by that, because I
Hmm.
really think there's a huge resurgence of handheld gaming coming back, and you got the Steam Deck, you got the Ally, the ROG Ally, like all these handheld based mini consoles essentially that you can play your favorite games on instead of just low poly or handheld exclusive games. Like, I mean,
Right.
hell, even Nintendo's come out and essentially said that they're announcing the successor to the Switch at some point, not this
But now that
summer,
I think
but
about it, they be out of stock on Amazon a lot.
yeah, they can't keep up with the demand for them. Like, they're selling pretty fucking well.
Mm.
And you got the rumored PlayStation 5 Pro, which could hit this fall. Like, I'm still not too sold on that, but I mean, I'm sure there's a market for it if they know much more than I do.
First, I mean, if you don't have a PlayStation, that's how I feel. Like maybe if you don't have a PlayStation, maybe
Right.
it's worth the investment, but I'm not looking forward to it at all. Like I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I don't think it's an investment for me. And just like Darkstar said, yeah, you even got Ghost of Tsushima 2 rumors. Like we could see an announcement on that. Like I think if I had to guess what their showcase is going to be this year, I think it's going to be more of them talking about what they have coming up either early next year or like 2025 and beyond. You know,
So
they
this is the opposite, right? This is totally opposite conversation that we had last week with the dumpster fire that's going over there at Microsoft, right? So it's like it makes me wonder, like, what is really going on? I mean, PlayStation is not without fault. Layoffs and stuff has
I mean,
touched
layoffs. You
everyone.
know, layoffs have hit Sony earlier this year too. Yeah, they
Hmm.
nobody's been immune to the shrinking of the industry. You know, it's been
But it seemed like they have a more cohesive plan, right?
yeah,
It seems like PlayStation, they took hits too. Let's not get it twisted. But it seemed like they have more of a cohesive plan.
right.
Of course, I mean, especially like last week with Microsoft was just wild.
It's
Like
all in the
it's
messaging, man. Like I feel like, and I'm gonna stick by this shit. Like I really do feel like there's a rift between Microsoft corporate and Xbox corporate right now.
I think we both been saying the same thing.
I mean, I was just
And I
reading
think we're
something from
right.
CNBC about how Satya Nadella and the CFO of Microsoft, I forget her name, they basically instituted like these new initiatives and stuff for Microsoft as a whole that they want all parts of their business. They want growth and sustainability, and you haven't had that with Xbox. I mean, once again, I always say, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back with them, and there's been you can see it. Like I really feel like there's a rift growing. I'm not saying that Phil is gonna get fired or I don't think anything that drastic is gonna happen, but you can see it. There's this friction there. There's some sort
Yeah,
of friction there.
there's two different ways business is being handled over there. Because I really do believe, and this not the X bot in me, but I really do believe Phil has a certain way he thinks of video games, and I think
Yeah,
he's kind of in the trenches with that. Like he really knows the market and he knows what he want to do. But I think when you're clashing with like the people at Microsoft, they may not be well versed in what's going on in the gaming world. It's almost like the dev and the publisher fiasco, right?
yeah.
Like you have one that's just concerned with, well, we need to see growth. We need to see growth. We need to see growth. We need more money. Money, money, money. And
Number
then he's
must go up.
yeah, we
Business number
don't
must go
care.
up.
We don't care how you do it, how you make it.
Yeah,
When them quarterlies come around, and we need to see improvements. And it's just like they think that they know what they're talking about or they know what they're doing, but in actuality, if you really don't know video games at the end of the day, then yeah, you're
yeah,
gonna have a conflict. You're gonna have a problem. And I 100% agree with you. I know for a fact I'll stand 10 toes in it. I know for a fact that that is the problem.
yeah.
I feel
I
like they
think
need to get
I
on the same
I think
page
I
over
think
there.
Satya is essentially big dick in them right now. Like I'm big dog around here, and you gonna listen to what the fuck I gotta say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Yes,
honestly,
sir.
that's what I think's happening. Yo, what's going on, Reaper? How you doing, sir? Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, just like
Reaper, what up?
he just like he said in chat, they do have a track record of buying companies and them just kind of disappearing, or going